And for more on this, we are now being joined by Dr. Krishnamurthy V. Subramanian, Executive Director at the International Monetary Fund, live from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for joining us on WION World is One.
My pleasure.
To begin with, what's your outlook on India's upcoming budget?
So I'm hoping that the forthcoming budget will provide significant impetus to growth. As all of us have noted, growth has slowed down this year. And I think it is therefore very critical for reforms to be implemented. I would particularly focus on taxation. And here the income tax code, the direct tax code, is likely to be rewritten. I was part of the group that drafted direct tax code in 2019 and had submitted a report to the ministry. I think it is really critical that direct taxes are simplified. It is important that the report that where there was a very simple draft, tax code that was drafted, that is implemented, because a lot of the difficulty in doing business comes from taxation. Secondly, I think some of the reforms that were done during COVID have now, the impact has actually already been seen through. It's important to do more reforms to ensure higher productivity and ease of doing business.
Right. In fact, I was just going to come to that. You played a role in conceptualizing India's economic policy during COVID. While COVID has passed, uncertainties have remained and rather high considering multiple clashing points. How can India's budget prepare for such geopolitical concerns?
I think one of the things that we did right during COVID was to diagnose the problem correctly. Thereby, we were able to come up with solutions that were fitted to the problem properly. In a similar way, I think it is important now to diagnose that the problems relating to productivity and ease of doing business, these need to be attended to. In my book, India at 100, I've covered a slew of reforms that India, can and must do in order to enable productivity and generate ease of doing business. I think it would be very good for the government to actually redouble its efforts on more structural reforms now.
All right. And with Trump 2.0 set to redefine global trade with tariffs, how must India prepare for that?
I think I would continue with the thread that I, mentioned. The tariffs actually would become a problem if the lack of competitiveness hobbles, and especially if small and medium enterprises get affected by that. It is important here to actually to mention that small and medium enterprises in India actually remain less productive because of the problem of dwarfism, where these enterprises grow in age but do not grow in size, and size provides significant economies of scale, thereby reducing their costs and making them more productive. So I think it is important to actually implement some of the measures, for instance, making sure that the perverse incentives created by laws that keep these firms small, I think, are removed. At the same time, it is also pertinent for India to focus on overall the conversation on trade, not just to be focused on goods, but also expand into services. And also when it comes to, various barriers, not just focus on tariff related barriers, but also non-tariff barriers, because India uses much less non-tariff barriers. And this is something that we should look to highlight as well in the conversations on trade with the United States.
All right. Well, Mr. Subramanian, thank you so much for joining us on WION World is One with your insights on this.
My pleasure.
For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.